We Las Vegans, we are always ready to complain about our city's choices. That's especially true with a lot of the public art that's gone up in recent years. And even if we love the artist, some of the ways our city puts out public art just doesn't work. Today on CityCast Las Vegas, I'm joined by fellow art lovers, newsletter editor Scott Dickensheets and contributor Vogue Robinson, and we're just going to parse through the public art that catches our sore eye. It's Tuesday, September 26th. I'm Dayvid Figler, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about.
Hi, David. Hi, Scott. How are y'all?
Delighted to be here, as always.
As am I.
Delightful. So today, you guys, we're going to talk about the public art we've got around town, because I think Vegas is an interestingly created city, and there's so many things, so many intricacies we can see on and off the strip. So I'm curious, kind of, what's a piece of public art you hate and why? And we'll start with Scott.
Well, not to pick on the easy target, but I mean, there's a fish in the barrel and I have a gun, so let's shoot. And that would be the paintbrushes that supposedly herald the art district down on Charleston near Main Street. They were created by a guy named Dennis Oppenheim, and they're these sort of tall metallic paintbrushes that at night are supposed to light up and somehow, like, you know, they're about a block and a half apart, I believe. They're not visually together, and they're supposed to like call and respond to each other. But first of all, so there's any number of reasons I dislike these. First of all, during the daytime, they just disappear completely into the visual clutter of Charleston. You'd only notice them by accident. And even at night when they're turned on, it's just so mild and so anodyne that it just doesn't really do anything for me.
MSG Sphere, they are not.
Right. They don't have the scale to be impressive. They don't have the sort of visual oomph to give you something worthwhile to look at. And they're not especially deep and meaningful. They don't prompt you to think any kind of interesting thoughts.
And I want to talk about that a little more, Vogue, because I think when we're talking about public art, and especially that's been financed, through the public coffers, how much money goes to these things. Like Scott says, even at nighttime, they're not impressive because they're not even maintained. I mean, these were supposed to be a bigger project, and then because of money issues, the city scaled it down, but they still spent, like $500,000 over a decade ago?
$700,000 installation.
Yeah. And they were supposed to be kind of like part of the gateway to this arts district that was then just burgeoning. And instead, they split them up, like Scott said, and they're not even working. Like, at what point do you just, deem a public art venture a failure?
Ooh. Well, what I feel bad about is when I first moved out here and I saw them for the first time, I didn't even realize they were paintbrushes. Like, they don't even read as paintbrushes to me because the ratio of brush to stem handle didn't quite work for me, and they're so kind of rigid as well. So it's it doesn't give that kind of motion, and even when it's lit up, I'm even less inclined. I'm like, is it a torch? And so I feel bad that in that way I feel like it's not necessarily successful. And so that
not
kind
necessarily,
of
no.
But I mean, and then also the fact that the artist passed away before, they were all fully installed as well. So all across the board, it seems like sad face for the brushes. They could do better. And David, what about yourself? What is a work of public art, funded or unfunded, that you love to hate?
There's a new one that I was disappointed in. I think this is a longtime artist in Las Vegas who has done some very interesting things. I don't believe this is one of them, and for a lot of different reasons. The piece I'm referring to is right in the Arts District, so staying in the downtown square. It's a piece by UNLV professor Pasha Rafat. It's called Pixelated Mushroom Cloud. It's made with steel and it's tiny. And I get its placement. It's right in front of a business called the Atomic Style Lounge. It's right next to some interesting Zap boxes. And if you don't know what the Zap boxes are, that's a project that was embarked upon a really long time ago to pretty up and artify some of the really ugly utility boxes that are around town. And so there's a couple of utility boxes that have been painted right next to it that actually depict bombs falling, which is kind of it doesn't offend me at all. I think it's a nice touch. But the pixelated mushroom cloud, I don't know what's wrong with it. It's either too small, it's purple. It just I don't know what it's trying to accomplish other than I can make a mushroom cloud that looks like it's from an old Atari game. I'm not really sure what it does.
I love that it's weird and it looks like I should turn into Mario Brothers and jump on it. Like it looks like, like I think the last time I saw it, I was walking up to Scott because we were doing like our headshots, and I was like, "What the hell is that?" Like it looks so out of place that I think it's doing its job.
Well, and then the scale just seems really wrong too. I'm wondering if. Look, I'm a huge proponent of public funds going to art. I think it should be something that creates conversation, that has an aesthetic quality, that triggers things. This. And again, apologies to Pasha Rafat, who's done some amazing work in his career. This one just seems very, very phoned in.
What do you think, Scott?
Again, I think I think David's right when he talks about how small it is. It sort of, again, doesn't announce itself in any way, doesn't present itself as, as something that you want to engage with. And so I think it's easy to sort of overlook. And
that's the thing is like, if you are going to invest in local artists to create works for the public eye, why would it be something that doesn't, call for more engagement? I think it really is a piece that is so easy to pass by, to not care about in any way. Does it fulfill any of the requirements of public art? Not to say whether or not in and of itself it's a good art piece. I think that's beyond my abilities as a non-art critic. I'm just saying, is it successful as a piece of public art? And to me, I don't believe it does at all. I think it's just the opposite.
I like that it's eye level. I like the height that it is. I like that it's weird. And so therefore, like, it sticks out kind of like a sore thumb in a space that kind of is a retro area. Like there's a couple of like retro shops that are in the vicinity as well. And so I think it's like, it's echoing back to that. And then, the mushroom cloud, that part of it is very kind of like kitsch, talking about like Vegas and different atomic testing that has happened in Nevada. So I don't know. I don't hate it. It's just, it's funky. And I wouldn't know that it was like a publicly funded thing. And I think that's what I like about it.
Well, it does have the signage on it. I think most of the public artworks have some degree of signage that clues in the viewer or the
It's
person
there. It's on the
engaging.
bottom.
Yeah.
It's got a little placard now.
I think it's useful to point out that in terms of like the user experience as like a dude on the street, how much does it matter to me whether it's publicly funded or whether it's privately funded by a business or by some, tech billionaire or whatever who wants to plop something in front of his business? In the end, it's like an alleged work of art in the public sphere trying to do something, like in the world, as opposed to being sort of locked in a gallery and where you have to come to it. Like it's coming to you out on the street. And so I think there's a definite conversation to be had about the funding mechanisms when it comes to public art. And I think there's some of my discontent with some public art evolves from that. But also just from a functional level, as I'm moving through the city, there's plenty of art that I don't like that's not publicly funded. So
you have lack of love for everything.
No, there's plenty that I like. But, since we're calling this public art we love to hate, I'm just going to go ahead and say I'm not a fan of the various Burning Man pieces that get put up here. Bliss Dance over on the Strip, the Big Rig Jig over on Fremont.
What is Big Rig Jig? Like
it's a truck having some manner of carnal relation with another truck vertically.
Oh, the swirly upside down truck at Ferguson's.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
You don't like that thing?
I do not. I mean, it has all the depth of an emoji, and
Damn.
and I can see where out on the playa, out on on the Black Rock Desert, it has it in that context. It might actually have something to say. I don't think that's true of Bliss Dance myself, but Big Rig Jig might, in that other context from which it was originally designed out in the desert, might be interesting to look at. But here in town, it just seems like an empty gesture to me. And again, I'm not an art critic. I'm just a guy who likes to look at stuff. So take however many grains of salt you want to take with my opinion. There you go.
And it's not per se public art. I mean, that's a private thing. And I guess you have to also mention the praying mantis in front of Container Park as being part of that collection that people seem to like, though I find annoying. Vogue, where are you with a public art piece that you love to hate?
Oh my goodness. I think the things that I've been over since they told us that they were coming were the two stupid 50-foot showgirls on LVB. And I drove past them the other day and I was like, they don't even look like they're 50 feet to me. And maybe I just don't have a concept of 50 feet. But they're just so useless. And not that everything has to be useful, but like I'm not even offended about, that that's very, very like the slim frame of the showgirls. I don't care about what they are or not wearing. They're put in a weird location. I feel like they don't signify what the city is now. And the plumage is like massive. The color feels dulled. Like it's just accosting. And I think maybe if I didn't know the budget for them, I would be less offended.
But you do know the budget and how much?
$631,000.
Well, there you go.
I think what makes it even worse is that, Yesco, it's a company, it's the Young Electric Sign Engineering Company. They do majority of our neon signs. And they do a beautiful job with so much. And there are several talented artists who work at Yesco. So to just see that, that's what they utilize their excellent talent for makes me sad.
I mean, it does beg the question, is it even art? I mean, it's certainly public.
Somebody drew it?
Well, I don't know that somebody drew it. Honestly, if you type in the words showgirl clip art, public domain into, a search engine, very, very similar images pop up.
I'm doing it now because I don't believe you, David.
Okay, here we go. Proof.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh, no. Well, y'all, if you would like to see...
I ain't messing around.
Dang.
Not to mention the fact that there's not a real history of showgirls downtown anyway. It's not even like
That's true.
It's not even a neighborhood relevant imagery to begin with. And, and it all derives, I'm almost certain, from the fact that, the former mayor used to squire around with showgirls on each arm. And that's where the downtown showgirl iconography actually mostly originates.
So, Scott, would you be okay with the showgirls if there was a clip art Oscar in the middle of them?
No.
Oh, clip art Oscar. Clip art Oscar for governor.
No. And in fact, somebody pointed out on Twitter, like, we wouldn't have these showgirls if there was a stadium downtown with Oscar's name on it. I.e., the whole point of it is fostering Oscar's legacy in a way that what didn't happen because his vaunted stadium never came through. Oof, downtown.
Well, and then there's also the giant martini sign that's on Fremont East. They have a bunch of like neon signs that are new, supposed to look old, that are there that also don't really resonate with me. I mean, I love to hate all of these, to be honest. And I don't know, maybe disliking is part of the point. It's certainly stirring reaction in all of us.
Right, exactly. I was like, it hit your note, David, about, does it stir up conversation? Well, here we are. But I mean, that's the ugly. We've talked about the ugly and the bad. So I think we should talk about some of the good. So, I mean, what do y'all feel like Vegas gets right about public art?
Ooh. Yeah, I think we have to give a lot of credit to our government entities who have been doing really I'm going to say unheralded work in the public art sphere as well, whether it be inside, like the rotundas at the county commission building or city halls, et cetera. There's usually a collection and some great exhibitions of local artists that are timely or provocative or interesting. There was a project called the 100 Mural Project that the city of Las Vegas did some years back, which was a huge endeavor. But sadly, most of those are gone now. And I think that for the ones that were intended to last a little longer, they probably could do a lot more in maintaining them. But huge credit and kudos to all the municipalities for really being devoted to public art, because I think there have been some really beneficial things that have come out of that kind of program. So that's my thought, Scott.
Stolen right from my mouth, I might add. But I do want to underline the fact that whatever issues I might have with individual works of art, kudos to them for spending the money in the first place. When you think about, I mean, basically this, the city develops processes to fund public infrastructure, but art is not like a sewer project. And you're trying to fit one of the slipperiest human endeavors into an evaluation process that is better for figuring out what roads to work on.
Right.
And so the fact that they're willing to try and work within what they have to fund public art, it's inevitable that I'm not going to like some of it, but
and that's okay.
I'm happy that they're doing it because other people will like the pieces I don't like. Although I find it hard to believe that the paintbrushes have any constituency whatsoever.
Yes. I love the Zap boxes more than anything, and I think that the county does a great job of not only procuring local artists to do them, but then also documenting the process. So, not that everybody watches Clark County NV's TV on YouTube, but I am that nerd, and it's possibly because I was the laureate for a while, so I be up in their YouTube pages. But I love that you can go on there and see conversations with the different artists and why they decided to create what they wanted to create. And I know a lot of the artists that have designed a lot of those boxes. And sometimes people end up having like apprentices to help them with it. And so it's growing the art community as well.
I'm a big fan of the Zap boxes myself, but I want some portion of the public art to be really like ambitious and deep and try and blast me with something, because I've lived in this valley for like 50 years, and my relationship with this place has flattened over time in a way that, like a new casino opening or, a publicly funded sports stadium just is not going to rehabilitate. And so I look to art in some cases for something that's going to help revive my, sort of flagging sense of place. And so something like Wayne Littlejohn's Dream Machine out by the airport, that's a piece that really works for me and really makes me feel a slight, a little bit more connected to what this place is on different levels. And so, that's one I really, really like.
Dayvid and Scott, thanks for hanging out today and talking art with me. I'm sure we'll meet up. I'm going to make y'all meet me somewhere far away from your homes to go look at other art around town.
I'll be happy to do it.
I'm on that tour. Let's do it. I recently talked about the big casino cyber hack with Vital Vegas on the podcast, and one of our listeners, Romeo, sent us the following. Hey, love your podcast. I'm in the Northeast and a huge fan of Vegas Borgata, an MGM property in Atlantic City. Canceled all gift events, bonus play, etc., having big issues. Thanks, Romeo. And that's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. Let us know in a review what else you'd like to hear us complain about on the show or what resonates with you. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Take care. Yeah, I mean, there's also the apocryphal tale of how showgirls used to sun themselves nude and living in that area called the Naked City. But if you want to listen to one of our old episodes on that, did Corey hit that one? Was that one of a Naked City
No, we didn't get to that. Look at all the weird things you know, David.
Oh, he might have skipped that one. Sorry, I'm going down a bad path. Anyway, cut all that.